All right, let's talk about one of the biggest shifts in how we build software today. We're going to dive into how you can build a reliable, automated assembly line for your code. Picture this. It's 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. A developer pushes out some new code, and bam, this happens. The site is down for 4 hours. You've got chaos, angry customers, and a weekend that's just been totally torched. And we're not just talking about lost time and a massive headache. No, that 4-hour outage, it cost the company $80,000 in revenue. That's the real price of just one single bad deployment. So, what on earth went so wrong? It wasn't one single catastrophic mistake. It was more like a death by 1,000 cuts, and every single one of them came from doing things by hand. When you dig into what actually happened, it's not some super complex hack. It's just a chain of simple human mistakes. The engineer, he forgot to run the tests. Then he missed a really critical database update. He even copy-pasted the wrong credentials. Out of 15 manual steps in the checklist, just a couple of little misses snowballed into a total system failure. It's a recipe for disaster. And that Friday nightmare, that wasn't a fluke. It's what happens sooner or later when you use what I call the artisan method of building software, a process that is completely dependent on someone's memory and their ability to be perfect every time. Think of it like trying to build a car from scratch, by hand, every single time. It's a craft, right? But one day you might forget to tighten a bolt. The next day, maybe you install the wrong part. Each car that comes out is a little bit different. It's slow, it's wildly inconsistent, and it is just loaded with risk. And the difference becomes just crystal clear when you put the two methods side by side. A manual deployment might take 8 hours with like a 15% chance of blowing up. But an automated pipeline, we're talking 10 minutes with a failure rate under 1%. And rolling back a change that used to take hours, now it takes seconds. The contrast it's just staggering. So how do we fix all this? Well, it's simple. We get rid of the artisan's workshop and we build a modern factory instead. We build an assembly line for our software. And this is exactly what CI/CD is. It stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment. And all that fancy term really means is creating a fully automated path that takes code from a developer's computer all the way to your users, with quality checks baked in at every single step. So here's how it actually works. Instead of one person trying to remember 15 different things, the code moves through these automated stations on the assembly line. First, a tool called a linter automatically checks the code for any basic style errors or obvious bugs. Then, thousands of automated tests are run. After that, it gets packaged up, scanned for security holes, and only if it passes all of that does it get rolled out. And here is the golden rule, the most important part of this whole thing. If any one of those stations finds a problem, a failed test, a security issue, anything, the entire line stops. A big red light goes off. This is what prevents bad code from ever reaching the end of the line, and more importantly, from ever reaching your users. Now that is a totally fair question. I mean, if all your automated checks take, say, 30 minutes to run, you kind of lose that speed advantage we were just talking about, right? This is a really common trap a lot of teams fall into. But the solution is to start thinking like a modern factory. You don't do things one after another if you don't have to. By running your tests in parallel, all at the same time, you can slash that 30-minute pipeline down to just 15 minutes. It's only as long as your longest single task. It's about being smart with your automation, not just having it. And look, this isn't just some nice theory. The data on what happens when teams move to an automated CI/CD pipeline, it is an absolute game changer. According to industry research, the highest performing teams deploy new code 973 times more frequently than the low-performing teams. I mean, that's the difference between pushing a new feature once a quarter versus pushing new code multiple times a day. And if you think multiple times a day sounds extreme, just take a look at a company like Amazon. They are deploying new code into production on average every 11.7 seconds. That is the kind of scale that automation makes possible. But here's the crazy part. All that speed doesn't mean more risk. It's actually the exact opposite. The percentage of deployments that actually cause failures drops from a terrifying 46% with manual methods all the way down to just 15% with CI/CD. So you get to be faster and safer. And the final piece of this whole puzzle is what it does for your developers. By automating all of this tedious manual work, you are literally giving back 30 to 40% of a developer's time. That's time they can now spend actually building new features instead of fighting with deployments. Once you have this automated assembly line running smoothly, it unlocks much more advanced, much safer ways to release software. It stops being about just raw speed, and it starts being about strategy. So let's take a look at the blue-green deployment strategy. The idea here is actually pretty simple. You run two identical production environments, side by side. We'll just call them blue and green. Here's how it works in practice. The blue environment is live. It's serving 100% of your users with the current version of the software. At the same time, your automated pipeline deploys the new version to the green environment, which is totally separate. No users can see it. So you can test it, you can validate it, you can do whatever you want with zero risk. And then, when you're confident it's ready, it's just a single automated command. One click instantly switches all of the user traffic from the blue environment to the green one. The release is instantaneous. There is zero downtime. And hey, if something goes wrong, one more click sends everybody right back to the stable blue environment. It's a safety net. So when you put all of this together, you start to see that CI/CD isn't just a nice-to-have for the big tech companies anymore. It has become the fundamental measure of a modern software team's competence and its reliability. And that really just leaves us with one final question that every team building software today has to ask itself. When you look at how you get your code out to your users, are you running a high-risk, unpredictable artisan craft shop, or are you operating a predictable, high-quality, reliable factory? The answer to that question changes absolutely everything.